They wake up before the world stirs, not because they must, but because they know the value of quiet hours. The silence of early morning isn't empty to them. It's sacred. Wise elderly people rise with the sun, not to rush, but to prepare themselves mentally, emotionally, spiritually. There's no phone in their hand the moment their eyes open. Instead, there is stillness, perhaps a stretch, a prayer, or just a moment to feel alive. They've learned that how you begin your day shapes everything that follows. They don't chase the hours, they anchor them. The first habit of the wise elderly is intentional solitude. They understand that clarity doesn't come from noise but from calm. They sit with themselves, reflecting on yesterday without judgment, setting a tone for today with grace. This isn't meditation for performance, it's communion with self. A brief moment when they ask, "What do I want to give the world today?" Not, "What do I want to get?" Their mornings are a ceremony, not a checklist. Whether it's a hot cup of tea sipped slowly or a simple walk under old trees, they engage with life's rhythm, not its rush. Their pace is not laziness, it's mastery. They don't measure value by speed, they measure it by depth. The wisdom of age has taught them that rushing makes you miss the beauty that's hiding in plain sight. The texture of a wooden chair, the scent of rain on dry ground, the way someone's eyes shift when they were hiding pain. These details, they don't escape the wise. They are absorbed, held, cherished. The second habit is deep listening. Not hearing, listening. Most people are too busy planning their response to actually understand what's being said. But the wise elderly listen with their full presence. They listen not just to words, but to silence, pauses, breaths. They've learned that in silence, truth often whispers, and when they respond, they do so with intention. They speak not to be heard, but to be understood. Their words are few, but they land like thunder, soft but impossible to ignore. They don't interrupt because they've outgrown the need to prove they know. They ask more than they answer because they know every person is a story waiting to be told. They've realized that wisdom isn't in knowing everything. It's in wanting to know more, even at 70, 80, 90. Curiosity didn't leave them with age, it matured. They still learn, not to compete, but to grow. Whether it's a new poem, a new recipe, or understanding the thoughts of a young mind, they stay engaged. They aren't cynical. They don't mock the world. They watch it change and smile, not because it's perfect, but because they see patterns, cycles, hope. Their third habit is gratitude, not the forced kind, the kind that's embedded in their bones. They've outlived too many regrets to carry bitterness. They wake up thankful, not because life has always been easy, but because it has always been a teacher. Every scar reminds them of survival. Every ache is proof they're still alive. They don't complain about age. They honor it. They know that time is not a thief, it's a sculptor. And their faces, their hands, their voices, they carry the marks of a life richly lived. When they talk about the past, it's not to escape the present. It's to pass on lessons. They're not stuck in how things used to be. They're grounded in what those times taught them. They talk about sacrifice, about honor, about showing up even when no one is watching. They don't preach, but their stories do. Every tale they tell carries a seed. Some fall on ears that aren't ready. Some take root instantly, but they keep planting because they know that wisdom is meant to be given, not hoarded. The fourth habit is humility. Not the performative kind, not false modesty. True humility, the kind that knows it doesn't know everything. They admit mistakes with ease. They don't hide failures, they honor them. Because those failures built them, they laugh at themselves, not because they don't care, but because they've stopped taking ego seriously. Ego is heavy, and they've learned to travel light. When they walk into a room, they don't demand attention. They attract it gently. Their presence is enough. They've stopped needing to win every argument. They don't fight to be right. They listen to understand. They choose peace over pride. They apologize easily and forgive even easier. Not because it's weak, but because they understand that resentment poisons the soul. They've watched too many people hold on to anger and rot from the inside. So they let go. Not for others, for themselves. They carry light. And that light shines in their patience, their laughter, their resilience. And finally, the fifth habit, the one that holds all others, is legacy. They live with the end in mind, not in fear, but in focus. They think about what they'll leave behind, not just in money or possessions, but in values, in memories, in stories. They mentor. They write letters. They take time to tell children who they are, where they come from, what matters. They don't just want to be remembered. They want to be useful even when they're gone. They plant trees they'll never sit under. They give advice that may only make sense decades later. They build not for applause, but for permanence. Their love is slow, strong, and unshakable. They don't say, "I love you" often, but when they do, you feel it in your bones. Their hugs heal, their presence calms, their eyes see beyond the surface. The wise elderly don't chase trends. They don't live for likes. They live for legacy. They know that what truly matters can't be posted, purchased, or praised. It's felt, it's remembered, it's passed down. In a world that worships youth, they embody the glory of age. In a culture obsessed with noise, they offer silence. In an era of shortcuts, they take the long road. And in every step, every word, every quiet smile, they teach us that wisdom isn't a moment. It's a lifetime of habits, chosen slowly, practiced deeply, and lived fully. They don't need to shout to be heard. They are the voice in the storm that says, "This too shall pass." The hand on your shoulder that steadies. The eyes that say, "I see you," even when you don't see yourself. They are the keepers of peace, the stewards of truth, the quiet giants walking among us. And they were not born this way. They were shaped by pain, by joy, by losses that almost broke them, and by loves that stitched them back together. Every wrinkle, a memory. Every slow breath, a prayer. Every word, a gift. They know that the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more depth. That's why their presence feels like peace, even when they say nothing. When they enter a room, it's as if the atmosphere changes, not because of charisma, but because of calm. There's a difference between being loud and being powerful. The wise elderly are never loud. Their power is rooted in presence. They speak slowly, not because they're weak, but because they weigh every word. They've learned that once spoken, words can't be taken back. And so every sentence is intentional, every pause meaningful. They are editors of their own thoughts. They've silenced the noise inside before they speak outside. That is why when they talk, you listen. Not out of obligation, but out of respect. They walk like they have nothing to prove. Because they don't. They've survived storms younger souls couldn't imagine. Wars of the heart, battles in the mind, losses that carved them down to their essence. And yet they rise, every day. Not always quickly, not always easily. But they rise because they know that showing up, especially when it's hard, is what makes the difference. They've buried friends, lovers, even children. But their hearts remain open, bruised but not bitter. Their laughter is not careless. It's earned. It carries history. When they laugh, you can hear the echo of decades. You feel the weight of everything they've endured and the strength it takes to still find joy. It's not loud, but it's real, and it heals. They don't laugh at others. They laugh with life, at the absurdity, at the unpredictability, at the poetry of it all. The wise elderly have stopped needing everyone to understand them. They no longer explain themselves to people who are committed to misunderstanding. They don't argue to win. They listen to learn or walk away to preserve their peace. They've understood that not every battle is worth fighting. Not every opinion deserves your energy. They've mastered the art of silence. They know that silence is not absence. It's power. In silence, they reflect. In silence, they connect. With God, with their past, with their inner truth. The wise elderly don't fear silence. They embrace it because they've lived long enough to know that answers are not always loud. Sometimes they whisper. They are deeply in tune with time, not the ticking of clocks, but the passage of moments. They feel it in their bones, in their slowed steps, in the faces of their grandchildren, in the way the seasons now move faster. And because they feel time, they waste nothing. Not a word, not a look, not a goodbye. They don't rush through life. They savor it. They squeeze meaning from the minutes. The wisdom in their eyes is not from books, it's from living, from loving people who didn't love back, from forgiving those who never apologized, from walking away from what they once thought they couldn't live without. They know heartbreak and healing. They know that life isn't fair and that it doesn't have to be for it to still be beautiful. They aren't perfect. They've made mistakes. They've hurt people. But they've owned their shadows. They've made peace with their past. And that's why they can guide others without judgment. They understand complexity. They don't give simple answers to difficult questions. They give space and presence. They don't envy youth, they admire it. But they don't wish to be young again, because youth gave them energy, but age gave them vision. And they choose vision every time. They look at young people not with frustration, but with compassion. They see the chaos, the speed, the hunger for validation, and they whisper, "Slow down, it's not out there, it's in here." They've built inner homes, places they retreat to when the world feels too loud. They've learned how to be alone without being lonely. They aren't afraid of their own company. They are friends with themselves. That's rare, and that's why their presence is healing to others, because they've made peace with their own soul. They don't chase happiness. They cultivate meaning. They've buried enough people to know that life is fleeting, and so they love deeply. They don't love everyone, but those they love fully, fiercely. They write letters. They cook your favorite meal without asking. They remember the small things, because love, to them, is in the details. They don't give advice unless asked, but when they do, it's gold. Not because it's perfect, but because it's been lived, tested in fire. They won't always tell you what you want to hear, but they'll tell you what you need to hear. And they'll do it with kindness, with softness, with eyes that have seen too much to lie. The wise elderly give without needing to be seen. They help quietly. They donate anonymously. They volunteer where no cameras go, because their reward isn't praise, it's peace. The kind of peace that only comes when your life means something beyond yourself. They mentor not to feel important, but because they remember being lost. They remember the confusion of not knowing who you are. And if their story, their hand, their time can shorten someone's suffering, they offer it without conditions. They don't need repayment, just that you pass it on. They believe in prayer, not always the kind that asks, but the kind that listens, the kind that surrenders, that says, "Whatever comes, I trust." Their faith is not performative, it's personal, deep, tested, worn, but unshaken. Because they've seen miracles, not in grand gestures, but in quiet mornings, in healed relationships, in a child's laughter after grief. They embrace simplicity. They've stopped needing more to feel whole. A good book, a warm blanket, a conversation with someone who truly sees them. That's enough. They've learned that wealth isn't in money, it's in moments, in health, in peace. They dress not to impress, but to feel like themselves. They wear wisdom like a garment. Their style is comfort, function, memory. That old sweater they've worn for years, it holds stories. That ring on their hand, it holds love. They surround themselves not with trends, but with meaning. They are intentional with their time. They say no easily, not from arrogance, but from clarity. They've learned that every yes is a no to something else, and they protect their peace like a sacred space, because they've worked hard to build it. They are bridges between generations, the living libraries, the flame keepers, the reminders of who we are and where we come from. They don't scream for relevance, they live it, in the way they show up, in the way they listen, in the way they stay when others leave. The wise elderly are not just old, they are elders. There is a difference. Anyone can grow older, but not everyone grows wiser. Wisdom is earned through losses, through choices, through quiet acts of courage no one claps for. They aren't here forever, but their influence is, in the way we speak, in the way we pause, in the way we love, in the way we forgive. They live on in the values they've sown. We are not just meant to admire them, we are meant to become them, slowly, patiently, one habit at a time. Because the world needs more people who live from the inside out, who slow down, who choose depth over speed, who listen more than they speak, who hold space, who build bridges. And when we grow old, may we not just have aged, but have lived, truly, fully, wisely. Let us carry forward their light. Let us sit at their feet while we still can. Let us ask questions, listen deeply, and thank them, not just for what they've done, but for who they've become. The 5 habits of wise elderly people are not secrets. They are choices. Daily, quiet, ordinary choices made over a lifetime. To be present, to be kind, to be grateful, to be humble, to be legacy-driven. Let us begin now. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories and life-changing insights. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a moment that could inspire your journey. Your support means everything. Thank you for being part of this community.